Rubber is omnipresent in everyday life. Think tires, shoes, adhesives, medical gloves. The list is endless. And it all comes from the white juice, latex, from one tree, the rubber tree. It grows for 7 years and then it gives latex for 25, 30 years. But what happens afterwards? In West Africa, there is over 100 million tons worth billions of dollars of aged out rubber tree. But they're just standing there occupying land that local farmers could actually use for agriculture. But they've grown so big and tall that, they just cannot cut them down because they don't have the proper equipment needed for that. And year after year, nothing happens. The problem gets bigger, so the trees keep growing and almost nobody's paying attention. So why hasn't anybody done something about this? A short disclaimer, I indirectly own a share in this company through another investment that I have, and I'm compensated for that video by the MK investment conference, not directly by the company. You should still know that. So let's get back to the video. To understand why nothing has happened, nobody tackled the problem, we gotta look at the history. We gotta go back 70 years. So let's do that. People have tried to solve this for decades, but they failed. Let's look at why. In the beginning of the 20th century, Liberia started to produce rubber, primarily for the developing automotive industry. And because demand kept growing by the 1950s, rubber is the primary driver for the Liberian economy. The entire country became dependent on a single crop, which meant plantations and small holder farms stretched for hundreds of miles. Ships leave packed for America and Europe. Rubber makes up 80% of Liberia's 55 million exports, 40% of the total national budget. So when everything collapsed, it collapsed hard. By the 1980s, Liberia is the world's largest exporter. But in the early 1990s, a civil crisis comes up. And because everyone fled to the cities or left the country entirely, many of the smaller plantations and smallholder farms are abandoned. Exports collapse. 1996, rubber production drops to just 11% of the pre-war levels. The plantations sat empty and the trees just kept growing. Most leave the country or resettle in Monrovia, the capital. A few remain and turn to subsistence farming or charcoal. 2003, the war ends. Plantations remain idle. Old trees are no longer productive. And then, 7 years after the war ends, somebody finally tries to fix it. 2010, a well-funded renewables company arrives in Todi. Big money, big promises, too many expats, too little local engagement. And then, 2013, Ebola strikes. By 2014, all employees gone because they were foreigners. Nothing sustainable built up. The land stays abandoned. The exact same vulnerabilities that made the plantations collapse in the first place. So we've got a civil war that empties the plantations, and you have Ebola that makes recovery impossible, and a well-funded company that just left the country because they couldn't stay there during the pandemic. They were foreigners, they left, and during all the time the problem just grew bigger. The trees kept growing and it was unfeasible for people now to take them down and use the land for agriculture. But this is exactly where Revive Terra thinks that they've solved the puzzle. And they're doing 3 things differently. The first thing is they have a local team, not expats. As we saw with the renewables company, if something happens, people are just gonna leave. But with local people, they're from there, they're gonna stay there. The second thing is they get certified first before they do something. So they get the SBP certification, which is needed if you want to export to Europe. So they're secure from the legal side. This means the biggest risk that they have is not that they find buyers. They've already solved that part. It's only about the operations on the land, on delivering that. Number 3, they've got the buyers already lining up. They've got an offtake agreement. So it's, as I said, only about the operations, but can they deliver? Let's look at what it takes to actually get the job done. We've heard the step of cutting down the woods, but before that you have to get into negotiations with the landowners. the people that own the land. And yeah, you sign a contract with them. You make a probably like around 10% down payment to them. And yeah, then you go there, you harvest the trees. So you cut them down, you ship them to the port, you cut them down into chips, and you put that on a ship and sell it off to somebody else in Europe. For that, you get money, you pay the rest to the landowners, and then the land actually lays lay for 1-2 years. And after that is where the good things happen, because then obviously the land is kind of recovering, but then you can do all the programs that you can actually start doing the agriculture again, which is badly needed there. This whole thing has a like total project life of over 50 years, which is huge, right? And first shipments are planned to be in Q1 2026. And with that, they should already be cash flow positive and profitable. But how do they get there? So what's the goals and strategies? To achieve that, stage one, that proof of concept, they are raising currently $9 million. And with that, let's figure out what they're going to do with that.
So $5 million, or about €4.5 million is going to go into capital equipment right away. Then there's a bunch that goes into our operating line, and then there's some more land acquisitions that we have to execute.
Okay, awesome. And with that, you probably already would have, if everything runs as planned, a profitable company.
Yes, in year one, the way we've designed it, we're already profitable and we paid all our costs back. So our goal with Revive Terra is over the next 12 months, now that we have SPP in place, is to put, we're doing, as you know, the second round capital raise right now. And that'll allow us to do a 12-month proof of concept. During the 12 months, we'll grow to an annualized production of 240,000 tons wood fiber exported from Liberia. At the end of that 12 months, we'll do an additional funding that we're actually talking to 2 private banks about, the one to rate a green bond. We're talking sort of potentially $100 to $200 million green bond that allows massive expansion. So we're becoming rapidly the dominant force for wood export for this type of material for Western Africa. A completely untapped reserve right now. We're the only game in town because there's no other SPP certifications live that have been issued for West Africa. There was one designed and built in Ghana, but the project folded before it actually got off the ground. So we're the only show in town.
Okay, so on paper, this all looks strong. Already buyers lining up, team on the ground, profitable, cash flow positive from almost the very beginning, and a real impact on 30,000 local people that most of them currently live below the poverty line. This sounds great, right? But we all know the stories where the pitch deck just sounds way better than what actually happens in reality. So I asked Guy directly what will really change for the people on the ground in Liberia, the Todi district.
So right now, Liberia has a chronic food shortage problem. Although, I mean, most people live well below the stated poverty line. They work for less than their stated minimum wage. So for the 130 odd people who are going to be working directly for us as we move through these areas, we pay not just the minimum wage, but a living wage, which allows them to put their kids through education, allows for health services. We provide water sanitation. We provide all the agricultural services that we spoke about just now. So from a basic subsistence level, things change fundamentally. That impacts, as I said, 130 people. In the Todi district, which at last counts 50,000 people, we will directly impact about 20,000 of those with the agricultural regrowth and farming programs that we put in place. That provides jobs for those people, it provides income for those people, and it provides direct food sources. One of the stated aims of the Liberian government right now is to drive food security. At the moment, Liberia imports most of its own foods. One of the poorest countries in the world imports all its own food, which is totally crazy. The purpose of Revive Terra primarily is a full profit business. Let's not get away from that. You can't build sustainable communities without a substantial profitable business behind it in the first instance. You don't build a sustainable business. You don't build a sustainable community. You don't have anything. So Revive Terra, through its profits, can afford to rebuild some of those communities that historically relied on farming. So a piece of that money goes back behind it as a very profitable business.
You can't build sustainable communities without sustainable business. That's the line that really, really stuck to me. And Revive is not an NGO, it's not a charity. It's definitely a for-profit business. And this is why I think this has great potential to change something in the long term. But whoever says you that doing something like this in Liberia comes without risk would be straightforward lying to you. So here's the 3 biggest risks that I found we've got here. Obviously, first one, the political risk. This is obvious, right? But we have to say that in Liberia over the last government transitions, they were friendly and we didn't have any big upheavals. So the country seems to be stabilizing right now. Second point, the execution risk. If they're not able to deliver as they plan, then obviously all the rest doesn't work out. We need to get it rolling. They need to prove that they can actually get that first delivery done, because that's the catalyst. That's what brings in the cash to all the next operations that we're planning to do there. And third, the scale risk. Maybe they only are able to get, for example, the right people in the Todi district, but they're not able to expand that to different other countries. And this is important because let's look at how they are mitigating those risks. So one thing is the expansion, right? We said that the scale up is a risk, but if they can do that, this is actually one of the best mitigation strategies. Because if something happens in one of those areas, all the other areas are still running and providing the business with proper cash. The second thing is for the operations, they have insurance from Lloyd's of London. This insurance actually also touches the first risk point that I touched on, the political risk. So if there is like social appeals and stuff gets stolen or they get expropriated or that kind of stuff, there seems to be that the insurance would actually cover that, which is amazing. I mean, we still then won't get the upside, but at least the losses probably won't be 100%, right? So we still could recover some of the capex that we've spent on the ground. Yeah, as you can see, anybody who would tell you that this is without risks would be straightforward lying to you. But here's my conclusion. We've got 100 million tons just standing there. We've got 50 years of potential project life. We've got the only company that has a certification for actually exporting that stuff to Europe, and the potential impact of 30,000 people locally that live below the poverty line that could engage in proper farming and so on, again, get their own food, which they're importing right now. So I think this is a very good shot and really worth the risk to do something great for our own pockets, but also for the local people. I'm personally not directly invested into that company, but I got exposure through another company which is invested in that one. So I really hope that I can give you an update on that, how it's developing in the next quarters, and that we were making money with this and improving people's lives. I hope that I will be able to tell you that good news in a bit. See you then.